Hello, welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, where we incorporate a panoramic view of flute-related topics. I am your host, Heidi K. Begay, and this is episode 149, an interview with Nicola Mazzanti. Before we dive into Nicola Mazzanti's interview, I have some exciting offers to share with you. Never could I imagine that Flute 360 would get to work with such fantastic companies, but here we are. I am thrilled to announce 2 exciting discounts from my flute friends. Flute Specialists is giving you a 20% discount off of sheet music from now until March 1st, 2021. Also, Flutistry Boston is giving you a 20% discount off of the book Survival of the Flutist by Marian Gadigian and Patty Adams from now until March 31st, 2021. Use your Flute 360 code today to set up your flute studio with the essentials. With your purchase, you are financially supporting the Flute 360 podcast. Thank you for your backup, and all the links are provided below in the show notes. And now, let's turn our attention to Nicola's interview. We hope you enjoy the conversation. Hi, Nicola.
Hi, Heidi.
Well, it was so nice of you to carve out time for us.
It is my pleasure to participate to this wonderful and interesting podcast.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a great time these past 3 years getting to speak with wonderful guests like yourself. And I've been learning a lot, and so has the community. So I'm so thankful for all of these interviews.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So have you had a good day so far?
Yeah, the 1st of September, I have left my orchestra, and so I have an orchestral job, and I have a lot of free time at the beginning, but now I'm very, very busy with a lot of projects. I manage all the projects from my home, basically from my computer, and but I have time to devote some time for myself for some fitness, for example, walking in the mountain, on the hills, or even the normal life that is not possible for very busy orchestral people.
That sounds wonderful.
And so today I had a beautiful, productive day. It's important. Basically, I am at home because we have the pandemic.
Yeah.
And for this reason, it's better to stay home, to stay safe. But I have a lot of calls, organization. Very, very soon, we have a very good surprise for the Piccolo world.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see it.
Yes.
Please let us know when your project airs or gets published, and I will make sure that the community knows about it through Flute 360.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited.
Yes, I am preparing a new very, very particular website, not a normal website, and some editions, some works for Piccolos, and I have in my mind a new Piccolo method, but this is not this will be not ready soon, probably in 6, 7, 8 months.
Oh, wow. That's amazing because you've already written such a great Piccolo method book.
I know. I thank you for your kind. But the method, the Mazzanti Method, the title is not from me.
Oh, I see.
Didn't decide the title. I proposed several titles for the book, but the publisher decided to call the Mazzanti Method And now this is the book. The Mazzanti Method is a collection of exercises, and the new book will be completely different in the organization, and probably it will be a bit of interactive method. I think that it will be a good surprise.
Oh my goodness. That is so inspiring to me as a teacher and as a player, because you've already reached such great heights in your career. Whether you are a performer or a teacher or an author, here you are still finding that new level. And thank you for demonstrating and for enduring these new projects, because it is quite inspiring.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah. So is there anything that you would like to tell the listeners about yourself before we get into the Piccolo questions?
Sure. My name, I think that you know my name. I'm a Piccolist. It is not easy for the definition of a Piccolist. Basically, a Piccolist is a flutist that play the piccolo in the orchestra. But in the orchestra, this is right for the Italy or for Europe. For example, in USA, I know that the military band or the woodwinds band has any military or woodwind band has the piccolist as an instrument, as a player. So the piccolist is a devoted part or totally the artistic life with a small and not easy instrument. I was the piccolo player, the solo piccolo at the Maggio Musicale Fiorentino Orchestra in Florence, Italy. And the Maggio Musicale Fiorentino had for 35 years the Zubin Mehta as a principal conductor. And especially in the golden years, I mean around 2000, 2010, we had the best conductors and the best solists. And this is very important because part of my formation, the formation of my artistic life came from these great artists, the conductors and the solists. And even from the great colleagues too. My colleagues in the orchestra were and are still are great players too. So my life, my artistic life with the piccolo was in the orchestra, basically in the orchestra. But I devoted a lot of efforts trying to have a new, I call a new piccolo, not a new instrument, but a new idea of a piccolo with a lot of colors, dynamic, as any other instrument, as a flute, as a piano, as a violin. So Nicola Mazzanti spent quite 40 years with this small instrument in his hands. My musical background started with my mom. My mom was a great fan of the opera, especially the Italian opera. She knew and still know a lot of operas by memory. My mama is near to 90. And from my mother, I learned a lot the passion of the melody, the passion of the singing, and the passion of the opera. But when I was a teenager, my main passion was the rock, the progressive rock, the rock progressive of a lot of great bands in Europe at the beginning of the 70s. The Genesis, the Pink Floyd, the Jethro Tull with Ian Anderson and so on. So probably I choose the flute for this reason, for this passion of a rock progressive.
Huh.
But very, very fast, I discovered the classical music around 15. And so I decided to attend the conservatory. And around my age, when I was 18 and 19, I attended the university. Conservatory and the university at the time were different schools. In conservatory, you study basically the flute, the instrument, and the university, you study all the matters, all the subjects around the music, as a history, music history, but even the theory, the composition, and so on. So I attended both of these schools, and this is my musical background.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Nicola. I loved hearing your influence of the 70s.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that it was a very creative period.
Yes.
The rock band were composed by very young people. Most of them, they were 20, 25, 23, 25. And they were young, but with a lot of ideas. Okay, not every idea were a new masterpieces, but I think that it was important in my formation.
Sure, the forward thinking and then being avant-garde.
Yeah, I was, and I'm still open to any kind of music. I'm curious, very curious of everything, even in the ethnic music too. And I love any kind of suggestion. Any kind of a suggestion. Some kind of music need to be studied, and some kind of music need that you know the kind of a language. This is true. But it's important to be a musician at 360 degrees, as your podcast.
I love that. Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's very vital and important for us classical musicians to venture into new musical genres.
Yeah.
When I studied Native American music, some years ago, it opened up my world, and I could relate to those people, to the Hopi people, and to their music and their instrument, how they approach playing. And it gave me new insights. So when I came over to my piccolo or to my bim flute, then I had these new ideas to explore through my primary instruments. Yeah,
right. And if I can say something, it's important to be not only a 360 degrees flutist, but a 360 degree musician.
Yes.
Too much people think that the music starts with the flute in their hands.
Yep.
I think the music starts when you can listen to the music, when you are inside of the music, in a concert, in a recital, or even in all the musical events. And of course, when you practice, when you play, when you are exploring a new repertoire. But we need to be musician first, or be musician inside your flute or piccolo practice or study.
Yes, I completely agree. Thank you for sharing that. So when you were a student studying at the university and at the conservatory, I know all of your teachers probably hold a very special place in your heart. Could you highlight by chance one teacher who you loved working with when you were a student?
Yeah, it's very difficult question because I loved and I still love all my teacher. Mm. All my teacher gave me something and different. Immediately after my studies in the conservatory in university, I studied for 3 years with Raymond Guillot. Mm. Raymond Guillot is a former student of Marcel Moïse, and he was the principal flute of the Opera in Paris for 40 years. Mm. And he was very important for me. And his teaching is inside of my book, The Mazzanti Method. Mm. I loved my teacher in the conservatory, Sergio Giambi. He's not famous, but he was very special for me. And I was inspired, and now it's quite a mentor and quite a friend, the great James Galway.
Oh, yes. How was it like studying with Nicola?
Nicola was teaching in Siena. Siena is a city in Tuscany, not far from Florence. And there is a very special academy, a summer academy called the Chigiana, Accademia Chigiana. And every summer, especially in July, Aurel Nicolet gave lessons in Siena. So I attended and studied with him. He was a very, very strict with the students because I remember that he pretended an admission exam by memory with a lot of very difficult music and especially contemporary music. So a lot of people attended his lessons were from East, I mean Korean and Japanese. And probably these people was very, very good with the technique, but they were not confident with the European, especially at the time, European culture and the European music. So I remember the Nicolet were upset with them a lot of time. But his lesson, the lesson of Aurel Nicolet, were very special because I have learned a lot of music, not a lot of a flute, a lot of music. And that was very important for me.
Yes, being a musician first and then a flutist.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hello, this is Jim Keefe, and I make Keefe Piccolos along with my good friend and business partner, Jan Kinmonth. Over the years, Jan and I have been fortunate to work with many great piccolo players and have developed a very good understanding of the challenges piccolo players face. One of the great insights we learned was from Lori Sokoloff, former principal piccolo of the Baltimore Symphony. Lori told us, the challenge in playing the piccolo is not getting out the high notes. The challenge is in making it sound like a musical instrument. So our job as makers is to offer piccolos that help players make this beautiful but challenging little instrument sound like it belongs in the orchestra. Our job is to offer piccolos that have a rich and dark tone quality, that blend beautifully, and have a stable, predictable scale. To achieve this, every aspect of our work on the piccolo comes into play, from our selection and treatment of wood, to the design of our scale and head joints, and even to the selection of our pads. No detail is overlooked. We also offer many options to make life a bit easier, such as the C-sharp trill, the vented C key, the Brasa F-sharp, as well as 4 head joint styles with a range of material combinations. By the way, our head joints are generally available immediately and are a great way to breathe new life into an older piccolo. To learn more about Keefe Piccolos, check our website, send a message, or give us a call.
So fast forward into you being a professional, and you recently published your wonderful Piccolo Method book titled The Mazzanti Method, whether you want that title or not. What an extremely important staple within the piccoloist's library. So I'm curious, what was the most profound lesson that you learned while you were writing and publishing this book?
Listen, Heidi, let me explain a bit about this book.
Okay.
This book is basically a collection of exercises that I wrote for my students.
Okay.
Every month, I provided my students with an exercise, and the book is the collection of these exercises, and is a kind of translation of the Moïse de la Sonorité for the Piccolo, with a lot of variation in the style of Raymond Guillot, this teacher that I named before. So the sound is very important and is divided in three checkpoints. Mm-hmm. The support, the throat, and the flexibility, so the embouchure. And then scales and arpeggios, melodies, exactly in the teaching of Marcel Moïse. But I have to say that I practiced this exercise for first. I wrote this exercise for me and then for my students. And when I tested that the exercises were very useful for me, so I gave the exercise to my students. And this is the most important things. I improved in my Piccolo a lot with my book. This is it seems very normal and but it's important to say another time. No, there is no book for the students. I think that every book every method is for the authors, for the player that brought the method itself. The technique practice is an endless work. Practicing is an exploring yourself. But when I play this exercise, the most important things for me is to be conscious of myself. As I said, is exploring myself, practicing exploring myself when I practice. And it's the moment where I'm more concentrated. And I think that if you want to stay in good shape until your third part of your life, you need to practice every day, to have a good warm-up every day. When I have not a lot of time, I prefer to play scales, sound, exercise instead of a repertoire.
Yes, the fundamentals are so important.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Oh, thank you for the explanation of your wonderful book. I love how you mentioned that you wrote the exercises for yourself and you noticed improvement, and then you passed them along to the students and then to the rest of us in the community. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So outside of your book, you do get to teach, whether in your studio or at these international Piccolo festivals. What are some great Piccolo method books that you recommend to your students outside of your own book?
Okay, for Piccolo, there is not many methods for Piccolo. There are not many methods for Piccolo, basically. And I don't want to name this because I'm fear to forget someone of them. But I'm sure that any Piccolo method has a good idea of the Piccolo technique. And so I have not a special Piccolo method to recommend. Everyone is good. I recommended some flute methods that you can use with the Piccolo too.
Yes.
Of course, all the books by Moïse, a great collection. And because Moïse was very logical, very logical, and he covered all the problems of the flute, and without a lot of speaking, only with the exercise. And I appreciated a lot of the work of Paul Edmund Davis. Paul Edmund Davis wrote several books now, and I loved them, and I recommended them, and even I practiced them with the flute and with the piccolo.
Wonderful. Yes, I agree completely. I remember being a young piccoloist and taking flute lessons with my first teacher. And at the time, there weren't any method books specifically for piccolo. And so we took our flute method book, which is called Rubank Methods. And I remember playing them on piccolo because it was designed very well and it was good for a student who was, young like me, and just to transfer easily over to the piccolo. So that's what we did growing up.
Yeah.
Yes, and I love Paul Edmund Davies' exercises. They're written very beautifully.
Yeah, Paul Edmund Davies is a wonderful flutist, a wonderful teacher, and a wonderful person too. He's very funny and it's very nice to stay with him.
Yes, I agree. Neat. So, since we're speaking of piccolo music and piccolo method books, what are some of your standard piccolo pieces within your studio?
I have students of every level, and any levels. And I think that the most important piece are the Vivaldi for audition. Every people want to win and a place, a chair in an orchestra. And here in Italy and Europe, Vivaldi is the most important requested piece. So Vivaldi, quite in every day, is played in my studio.
Okay.
And other pieces, as of course Lieberman, Lieberman concerto, some piece of the Italian author Alessandro Cavicchi. He's my friend, but he's composed a lot of piccolo music, and I played in the gala concert in Salt Lake and the NFA convention. One of the last work for piccolo and orchestra, but in the version of piccolo and piano, Embraceable Lenny, with the music inspired by the music of Leonard Bernstein. It was an anniversary of Leonard Bernstein 2 years ago, if I remember well. But I try to give to my student one easy is not the right word, but I mean, is not a piece with a lot of notes and a melody in the Moise style, a melody that everyone has to play in their lesson. And it's important to compare one piece in any students. And give them the suggestion and the direction for improve and for adding more color to their piccolo playing. I have a student graduated in a flute. And so they know the technique. They know how to move the fingers probably better than me. So the only thing that I can teach is a good approach to the piccolo with more color and more dynamic.
Very neat. So how do you teach that approach to a student?
This is a very interesting question because any student has his or her way.
Yeah.
And basically, I try to express the musical world inside of the student, and they have to express this musical word. It's important that they have no limits. They have no limits at the beginning. The limits of the style, the limit of the important flutists say that. The limit of they have to search inside and try to put the richness of your inside outside for the people. And this process is a love process. It's because you love the people and you love all the things around you that you want to give them something of you. And about the technique, it's another side. Yeah. And I have to, in these things, basically the student has the experience that they cannot express everything because they have not the tools for expressing everything. So my teaching is giving them the tools. How can have for example, to close the note to nothing, to have a very beautiful, large sound. Because of a lot of people think that the piccolo is difficult to play soft. Right. It's very difficult to play soft, but it's very difficult to play with a good, large sound too. It's not important. You don't need only to blow more. You need to change the embouchure. You must have a large sound, not a forced sound. And above all, you must be in tune.
Yep.
So I try to stimulate the students in this way.
It was amazing. I loved how you expressed yourself so beautifully. And you remind me of my dear, dear teacher, Navart.
Yeah.
And she is a Greek flutist. And when I took lessons with her, she was so vivid with her vocabulary. She would say, Heidi, the water droplets are on a rose leaf. We want to, and then she'd go, as an example to the repertoire or whatever. And that imagery just really, for me, made the music so alive. It helped me to express myself more. And she painted this beautiful picture. And so I'm relating everything you just said to my studies with her because you express yourself in a very similar fashion. And I love it.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. So because you've worked with a lot of piccolo players over the years, whether they are beginners, intermediate, or professionals, what is a common problem that you see amongst these different students? And what would you like to share in that regard?
Okay, I think that the problem number one, the piccolo is having a great dynamic with a perfect intonation.
Okay.
This is, in my opinion, the main problem. And because without a wide dynamic, the piccolo is only a whistle. I mean, a nice whistle, but only a whistle. To have a perfect intonation with a limited dynamic is quite simple, but with a wide dynamic is a challenge.
Okay.
In my opinion, the flexibility is so important. Flexibility in the 3 octaves, the 3 registers, and in the dynamic as well. So I have some exercise for that. But another thing important is the intonation. Intonation is not in your instrument, is not in your lips, is not in your throat, or the intonation is in your head. You have to imagine the note before to play.
Yep.
If you have not this exactly imagination of the height of the note. It's impossible to have a good intonation with the piccolo. You have the tuner, and the tuner is a good tool, but only to train your inner ear. Because you make the music with your ear, not with your eyes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Ear and not with your eyes. It's important, this eyes, because you are looking at the tuner and the arrow is the center, and or the light green or red and so on. So the music is inside of you, and a good idea is to have to play the basically interval, the perfect intervals as octave, fifths and fourths. And after, when you are sure that the fifth, for example, is good, you can check with the tuner. And so don't put the tuner on the stand. Yeah. Put the tuner aside, a little, not in your view.
Yes.
A little far. So check and okay, I were good. I'm good because the fifth is a oppure I'm not good, so I have to play again, but I have a good fifth in my head.
Yes. Do you sing a lot during your practice sessions?
When I practice, I sing. I like to sing.
Yes.
I have to say. Sometimes I like to sing when I am under the shower, during the shower, or when I'm driving alone during my trips and so on. When I practice, I try to have a good singing style in my head, and I practice for realizing my idea. If you have nothing in your head, your playing will be not good.
Yeah, very true. You have to have that idea there internally in order to express it externally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked about the singing because when you were talking about these intervals, I find that if I can sing the interval, I'm going to be much more successful through the instrument after I sing the pitches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat. Well, thank you so much for those observations. Speaking more about piccolo, do you find that there are some misconceptions about the instrument? If so, what are they? And what do you wish people knew about the piccolo instead?
So many misconceptions are a thing of the past and are slowly disappearing. But sometimes we need to repeat ourselves some things. For example, the piccolo is always out of tune. The piccolo is out of tune if you are out of tune.
Yes.
Because there is no in-tune instrument. There are in-tune player or out-of-tune players. And this is important. You know, a violin, is there an in-tune violin? No. Is there an in-tune violinist? or out-tune violinist? And this is the same for the piccolo. Or other, the piccolo is just a very agile. I don't know what is the English pronunciation. I think that is the same word. I mean, an instrument where it's possible to make a lot of notes, but not a good music. This is wrong. I think that is a great singing instrument where many colors can be done. Or the piccolo is just for fun. Not. Piccolo is an exciting, engaging, like any other musical instrument. often often on social networks or Facebook or Instagram, there are gags. There are where the Piccolo and the Piccolo player make you laugh.
Yes.
There is nothing wrong with it, but it is sad that people only see the Piccolo in this aspect.
I see. Yes. So in the last portion of the show, I do a fun segment called Picks. This can be music related or not. You can share with us your favorite book, movie, whatever you'd like.
Okay. For first, my favorite food is the pasta asciutta, is the pasta. As a very true Italian guy, the pasta is the base of my food, and I love it, and I love to cook it, and with several sauces. It's not difficult to cook the pasta asciutta, the pasta, but it's difficult to find a good pasta outside of Italy.
Okay.
And if you never visited Italy, I invite you to visit Italy, and I will be proud to invite you in a good restaurant for pasta. And the other things that I like a lot is walking.
Yes.
I like to walk in the mountains. I love the mountains, and I love to go to the Dolomites. Dolomites is mountains in the northeast part of Italy, and it's my favorite way to spend my free time. I read for the second time Thomas Mann, the Enchanting Mountain.
Okay.
You know?
Yes.
I don't know if this is the English title. In Italiano is La Montagna Incantata.
Okay.
And this is a great book that I suggest to everyone.
Okay. Yes, I think it translates to the Magic Mountain.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. The Magic Mountains. This is true.
Oh, great. I'll have to check out the book.
Yeah.
These are some great picks. I agree. The food in Italy is phenomenal. And walking through the mountains, especially in the northern part of Italy, is gorgeous. The Italian Alps. And I got to visit northern Italy about 4 years ago in Sterzing, which is right on the border of Austria, and it's beautiful up there.
Exactly there. This is a wonderful mountain.
Yes.
It's a wonderful mountain. Exactly with the border with the Austria, the Dolomiti in Italiano.
Yes.
And probably in English it is Dolomite. Dolomite. I don't know exactly, but it's a fantastic place.
Yes. Anytime I visit the mountains in any part of Europe and I have to leave, I cry.
Yes. It's this. It happened to me the same every time that I'm there.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Great picks. So I want to offer a few of my picks for the listeners. Speaking of your wonderful Mazzanti Method book, everyone can go and purchase it through Flute Specialists from now until March 1st, and you will receive 20% off of any sheet music. But I'm highlighting Nicola's book because he's on the show. So you can use your Flute 360 code and receive 20% off of sheet music. Also, through Flutistry Boston, they are offering a 20% discount from now until March 31st, 2021, on their book, Survival of the Flutist by Marian Gedigian and Patty Adams. Also, you can use your Flute 360 code to receive that discount. And finally, I have a book recommendation. She is a flute friend of mine. She is a Polish flutist, and her name is Natalia. She just wrote a fantastic book titled Flute Infinity. So I will provide a link to her book through her website, so that way you can pre-order this book about circular breathing. And so you can check out that link and check out her book and tell me your thoughts. I'd love to hear it. So those are my picks for today.
Great.
Well, Nicola, it's been wonderful getting to know you and hearing all of your wonderful knowledge and ideas. We thank you so much for carving out time for us, and we hope that you have a blessed day.
Thank you, Heidi. And thank you for having invited me here. And I'm very happy to speak with you and to share experience. So I hope to meet sometimes in person. And even any time that you need to speak about, I'll be happy to participate.
Oh, thank you, Nicola. That means a lot to me.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Johnson at Flute Specialists. Flute Specialists is excited to sponsor Dr. Begay and Flute 360 podcast Piccolo series. We sure do love piccoloists, flutists, and low flute players. Flute Specialists has one of the largest inventories of new handmade flutes, pre-professional intermediate level instruments, head joints, piccolos, and low flutes. We also have a large inventory of previously owned flutes, piccolos, low flutes, and head joints as well. As a nationally known sales, repair, music, and accessory company, we have competitive pricing, excellent warranties for purchases and repairs. We also include for free, at no extra charge, instrument warranty for adjustments and lifetime discounts on all future repairs. We have a great teacher program assisting teachers, players, and families find the right instrument. We also have a number of virtual lectures and master classes for studios and private lesson instructors. Our Flute Specialist team looks forward to hearing from you and assisting you any way possible. We can send you flutes, piccolos, head joints for in-home trials as well. Do visit our flutespecialist.com website and our Flute Specialist Instagram and Facebook pages to keep up to date with all the fun contests and giveaways. We do look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. Please subscribe to the Flute 360 newsletter by going to HeidiKBegay.com. A pop-up will appear and you can enter in your information for the weekly newsletter. The newsletter includes great incentives, updates, and perks to the subscribers. Go ahead to HeidiKBegay.com and sign up today. Thank you.
Let's talk about flute.